My grandparents was James and D. Goodridge and Nancy Caroline Goodridge. My father was James W. Goodridge and Augusta Porte Goodridge. My mother was Augusta Frances Porte, who had a sister by the name of Julia Porte, who took me from my parents when I was about 1 year old, and she raised me, and from 1 year old until I was 14 years old, when she gave me back to my mother when she was about to return to when she was about to go to the United States, in which I stayed with my mother, Augusta Porte, until I got married. But Julia Porte raised me as her unborn child. She was a very nice and kind mother, not only to me, but to my siblings and other members of the family and friends. I had about several other siblings, which included outside foster children, and she taught us very well. Her best quality was to love children, love her family. She loved her family very well, and she loved friends, and a hard-working mother. She raised me to be the mother who I am today. She was very loving, kind. She treated me as her unborn child, which memories I never forgot and still carry them with me wherever I go, because she taught me to be a real Christian. She brought me up in the church. I went to Sunday school, every Bible school, vacation Bible school. She taught me to be a decent woman, a mother, and a caring person as she was. And I took the training she gave me, which I try my best to carry out today, loving my family members and friends. Well, the first school I was in was the Seventh-day Adventist school, and then after that I was sent to convent. There she made a lot of jokes by calling people names and telling them things that some people might get hurt and some people would just laugh. And she made very good friends by some of these jokes. People always wanted to be around her because she was a very funny person. And she told it as it was. She didn't bite her tongue. Typical Sunday meal was split peas and gravy, collard greens, and sometimes we would have a black-eyed peas in the rice with big chicken. America first for a visit, and we met up, and it was just like I had just seen her again or known her, because she was the same person. She never changed. She always was, her arms were always open to receive us as her children and family members. I had three kids before I came to America to stay. She did not see them until they came to the States. And then I had two others here, and they all knew her as their grand aunt and grandmother, because she treated me as a daughter. And they all knew her, and they all knew when she died. We worked for various Lebanese merchants. Then she got a job with the government working at the Centennial Pavilion, which she stayed working there until she left for America. where she was the supervisor there. With my loving husband, Mr. George Elkins J. Clinton, we did have 6 children, and their names are, which one? The oldest one was Elkins D. Clinton, Julius T. D. Clinton, Augusta B. Clinton, Deborah T. Clinton, Elkinset A. Clinton, and Sterling J. Clinton. I forgot Adolphus B. Clinton. Ishmael, Ishmael B. Clinton. His initial is B2. Ishmael B. Clinton. Altogether, I had 15 foster and adopted children. I've been married for 57 years with George Clinton. 50 complete 7 years. Most time people say they've been married for a certain amount of years, but they have spotted, gone away and come back and all. But it's been 57 years. Not one day I left my home to go anywhere. But on 57 unbroken years. Secret is trust God first, keep the third party out, and do your best what you can see and don't see. If you see and you want to take care of things, take it on to the guy himself. Don't bother the next party. My favorite memory of my grandmother being in the order of the SMT, she was a hard-working woman. We see her dress up in her uniform and go to meetings, and she would train us to be decent women like they were, and they would come home after the meetings or when they have big entertainments like that and bring little snacks and things back for us. Her name was Nancy Goodridge and I remember my grandmother cooking and teaching us how to make bread. I remember on Saturdays how they had to clean their house and scrub the floors, and the boys would go out to get to cut the panels and thing and bring them, and we did no work on Sundays. You had to be in church on Sunday, but no work on Sunday. I remember the boys would have everything ready, and the girls would cook and take care of the house. Paddy was my grandmother's husband, and he was a loving man, and he made the kids to feel very happy and respectful. They were very respectful to him, and he was respectful to them. But they all have fun and make jokes of him. And my favorite memories of my father, James W. Goodridge, he was in the army, the armed forces, and they always had conventions and things, and I was used to being there. They take delegates and things, and we would be there, have to cook for them, and he's dressed up in his uniform and strutting down the streets. And my father used to love, another memory of him, he used to love to play his guitar, and he and my mother riding their bikes together. He taught my mother to ride bikes, and that's what I loved about him. And they would sit on the push some evenings, and he and my grandfather would start and play the guitar, and they beat knocking the bottles and singing songs and making up songs and things like that. And we enjoyed it, and I wish those days were still around. My memories about my father, when he go out in the country, in the interiors and things for them to build road with Alfred Mensah, he worked for Public Works, and he built the roads. I knew when he went to Capamas, when he went to Sino, and he went to nearly every part of like the country. Even Grand Juliet places, all those places in shuffling and all like that, they built the roads. He and Alfred Mensa and the crew.
Wow.
And his brothers all lived on Lemongrass Street. And I remember my father's house was, if you're coming from Bento, my father's house was the first house. Then Jonathan Goodridge, my uncle, house was next to his. No, Amos Goodridge's house was next to my father's house, which was his brother. And then Jonathan Goodrich's house was next to his. Across the street from my father's house was his brother John Goodridge. In vacation time, I would go to Crusoeville and we would go to Davidtown. There's a town they call Davidtown. And we go to Davidtown, and when you're sleeping in the morning, the cows will come in and open the window and to wake you up. On Lemongrass Street, we walked down from Lemongrass, up from my grandmother's place down to Bento, the beginning of Bento, where they had the circle, and we walked back. And I remember when there was a time they used to have dances. My uncle Julius had a place that he used to have dances, and we would go there, just little children, but we just go to what they were doing, but we couldn't go on the dance floor just to see the older people dancing and having fun. My favorite fruits in Crusoeville was the guavas, the mangoes, we had monkey apples. Even in the church yard, we had monkey apples. So after church, we would pick the monkey apples. And after we had children, the children still used to love to go up there just to pick the apples and things like that. But my favorite Sunday was pan cabbage and split peas and gravy, collard greens and rice. And my grandmother had the girls and boys make the light bread for Sunday. I remember my siblings coming over on holidays. My mother raised me, which is Juliet Porte, which is my aunt, but she raised me as her own child, so I call her my mother too. And on holidays like Christmas, she would buy gifts for all my siblings. And she had a special gift put aside for me. And when they all come, the boxes of toys and things, we have them say that she said, you the host, let them pick their gift first. And they will go in and pick their gift, and everybody got something. They think they have beaten me to get the best. And when time ended, then she would go, when I finished picking from that box, then she'd bring my special gift out and give it to me. And some of them would be jealous and especially my sister Comfort. She put me into a lot of trouble with my aunt. She would come over and do things that my aunt didn't want being done in the house. She said, don't touch my perfume, don't touch my lipstick. And Comfort would come and she would dress up and take the lipstick and use it and use the perfume. And I go to tell on her, then my aunt would say, well, if she didn't use it, who will use it? But that's the trap she used to put me in. It's like, Comfort would report me for every little thing. She come to visit, but she report me for every little thing. One time we got into trouble because she told my aunt would tell me, when I called you, answer, because you don't know what I'm calling you for. Maybe I have killed somebody and got an eyeball hit, and I want to show you where it is, and you better rush and come. So that I learned that when people call you, you rush to see what they want. So, but She left to go out one day and asked me to cook and to roast the smoked fish. So the smoked fish were not supposed to be roasted in the house. You roast the smoked fish outdoors in the kitchen. And we played now for and comfort was surprising. She would come and all day we playing, and forgot that it was getting late and I had forgotten for the smoked fish. So she told me when I said, "Oh, comfort, I forgot," until we get mad because I did not roast the smoked fish. She said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just put it in the plate and put it on the stove, and it will not smell in the house." Stupid me, follow her and put it in the plate. Roasted it on the stove. When my aunt came, she said, "What happened? You roasted the smoked fish in the house?" I smelled it. I said, "No, we roasted outdoors." Comfort jumps up and said, "Don't mind her until she roasted in the house." And she said, "Okay, when my guests go, I will fix you." And my aunt never promised me a whipping and let it go. Even if it take days, she would beat me for it. And one day I did something, and when she came, Comfort reported me, and she told me to come so she could whip me. And Comfort said, "Yes, and I will hold her so you can beat her." And she brought a chair, and my aunt told me to lay there, and she went to beat me, and I started to move. She said, "Until she fight me, you want me to hold her down?" And Jackie, he's standing up crying, and he said, "When I go home, I will report you to Mama." And Comfort, my angel said, "You can't, you scared out of here." And Comfort held me down for them to beat me. But all those things was just children thing, and I didn't hold it against her. She still was my loving sister that today. I still love her. She and myself get along like twins. She would dress up when she come from school. She had one red dress. They called it princess dress. And Comfort didn't want to wash her clothes, so she didn't want to dirty up her clothes. She put, at the time we get in from school, she dressed up in her princess dress and she gone to her cool friends for them to go on the beach, go swim, plant trees. I think when Mama come and you tell her what Comfort had done, she called her to whip her, and she take her in the room and knocking everything in the room with the switch, and Comfort hiding like they were beating her, and Mama never hit her. She'd be screaming and carrying on. The switch never hit her. So she just knew what to do, get away with everything. My grandmother, Evelina Williams, was married to Joshua Porte, and I loved her out of this word, and she loved me. And she treated me like a mother, and she loved all her grandchildren. We grew up knowing her to be a nice, hard-working woman. And she always told us to speak the truth and to do the right things, to be better women for the future. She taught us to read the Bible. She taught us how to take care of ourselves and how to, when a man approached us, what to do. But as young girls would do, if you happen to meet somebody, you're not going to rush to your mother or grandmother right away to say something until you know there's something real going on. So, but she was a very nice grandmother. I remember my grandfather, Joshua Porte. He was a district attorney in the township of Crusoeville, and he always wore white suits. He never wore dark suit. He always wore white suit, and he always talked about how he was a sportsman and all the women loved him. I went to the TNIMB school at the maternity center and worked for the Dr. Johnson Clinic. And I did nursing. When I came to the United States, I went back to nursing, and I did private duties and working in the nursing homes and things like that. And my mother, she took care of The late President William V.S. Tutman kids. She worked with, she took care of Cuckoo, she took care of John Harry and William Tutman. She took care of Nene Blue Tutman and all these kids that was brought up in the mansion, which was the president's children. She took care of them and she got several awards. My mother used to ride the bike from her house to go to work. I always remember her on the bike with her two plaits of hair. She would part her hair in the center and then roll her hair on the side with her gray and white uniform. And I used to say, how Mama managed riding the bike with a dress on, because the uniform was dress. But she did it to work and back home. Sometimes she would take a break and come to check on the lady that was taking care of the kids. My Aunt Bertha, she wore her hair all curly back with her hairband and thing on it. And my Aunt Gia wore her hair curly, something like that, with her two combs in the hair. So I love all of these women because they were the three mothers in my life, and plus my grandmothers. So I thank God that I will have my grandchildren remember me like I remember my grandmothers and my mother.